3 years ago, Arya was sent to juvenile detention for something she still, to this day, cannot remember doing. Today, she's being released. Her mother is waiting outside with a new house, a new address, and a rule she repeats twice in the car ride home. Never ask about the old one. But Arya has one memory that never faded, no matter how many therapists told her it wasn't real. A handprint burned into a mirror, and 3 seconds of total darkness right before her father stopped breathing. Tonight, she's going to find out that memory wasn't a symptom. It was a message, and whatever left it there has been waiting 3 years for her to come looking. Stick with this one to the end, because the twist in this story isn't what happened to Arya's father. It's who's been living in that mirror the entire time, and what her mother has known since the day Arya was born. Arya's mother, Denise, had sold the old house before Arya even finished her intake paperwork. Why would we need a new place? We already have a house. I thought a fresh start would be good for you, sweetheart. New walls, new memories. You don't need to keep living inside what happened. You mean you don't want me living inside what happened? Denise didn't answer that directly. She rarely did. Arya was starting to remember. A habit that had outlasted 3 years apart without softening at all. Can we please just get you settled? You've been through enough. Let's not start the first night like this. I just want to know what happened to Dad, Mom. That's it. That's the only thing I've wanted for 3 years. You know what happened. You were there. I don't remember being there. That's the problem. I don't remember any of it. Not 1 second of that night. Doesn't that seem strange to you? Not even a little. Denise busied herself with the grocery bags rather than answer, and Arya understood, not for the first time, that her mother had decided a long time ago which version of events was easier to live with. That first night in the new house, Arya lay awake replaying the same fragment she'd replayed 1,000 times in detention. Not a memory of murder, but a memory of a mirror. A hand pressed flat against glass from the inside, fingers spread, cold enough to fog the surface even though nothing about that night had been cold at all. She'd told 3 different psychiatrists about it. All 3 had called it a dissociative artifact, the mind's way of papering over trauma it couldn't process directly. None of them had been able to explain why, 3 years later, she could still feel exactly where that handprint had been, like a scar on the inside of her memory instead of her skin. Unable to sleep, she opened her laptop and searched something she'd never let herself search while she was locked up, afraid of what a counselor might read into it. Memory loss before violent event psychological explanation. Can a person black out and not remember hurting someone? Mirror hand mark meaning folklore. The last search returned an article on domestic hauntings. Spirits anchoring themselves to reflective surfaces, drawn to grief, guilt, or unfinished business inside a household. She almost closed the laptop. Then she remembered that her mother had emptied the old house in 11 days, and sold it within a month of the funeral, and had never once, in 3 years, said her father's name out loud unprompted. 2 days later, Arya drove back to the old neighborhood, not to the house itself, which now belonged to strangers, but to the one person who might actually answer her honestly. Her Aunt Priya, her mother's estranged older sister, who hadn't been allowed at the trial. Your mother didn't want me anywhere near you after everything happened. Said I'd confuse you. Priya's mouth twisted around the word like it tasted wrong. I think what she meant was I'd tell you the truth. Then tell me, please. I don't remember anything from that night. Everyone acts like I'm supposed to just accept that I did it, and I can't. I can't accept something I don't remember doing. What do you actually remember? A handprint, on a mirror, and then nothing until the police were in the house. Priya went very still. Arya, did your mother ever tell you that you were a twin? The question landed like something physical. What? No, she would have told me that. She would have said something. Why would you even ask me that? Because I was there when you were born, and I held both of you before your father decided only one of you was coming home. Priya's voice stayed level, but her hands didn't. Your parents tried for years to have children and couldn't, until they went through a fertility clinic. Your father wanted exactly one thing out of it, a son. When the doctor told him it was twin girls, he didn't say a single word in that delivery room. Not one. Twin girls. There were 2 of us. Two of you. He let your mother bring both of you home from the hospital. For 6 days. I remember because I stayed to help her. Priya's eyes were wet now. On the 7th night, he told her he'd made a decision. Said he couldn't afford. His words, 2 daughters' futures. Said he was taking one of you somewhere she'd be looked after. Taking her where? Your mother believed an orphanage at first. She let herself believe that for a long time, because the alternative was unbearable. It took her years to admit to me what she actually saw him do that night. Once, in a moment she couldn't take back, because I pushed her over and over for the truth. What did she see? Priya's voice dropped to almost nothing. She saw him put your sister in a trash bag behind the house before he ever left with her. She never saw her again after that night. And when she tried to go to the police years later, he told her plainly, if she said one more word about it, he'd make sure she lost you too. Arya drove straight to her mother's new house, shaking too hard to fully process what she was even planning to say. She found Denise standing frozen in the hallway, staring at the bathroom mirror, where a single handprint, unmistakably the same one Arya remembered, had appeared on the fogged glass from the inside. Mom, tell me the truth. Right now. Did I have a sister? Denise didn't turn around. Where did you hear that? Answer the question. Yes. The word came out broken. Yes, Arya. You had a twin. Your father took her the week you were both born. And I let him because I was too afraid of losing you too if I fought back. Where is she? I don't know. I told myself for years she was somewhere safe. I needed to believe that to keep functioning at all. The bathroom light flickered once, violently, and both women turned toward the mirror as the handprint on the glass began to spread. Fingers stretching, pressing outward, as though something on the other side was finally done waiting to be acknowledged. A voice came from inside the glass, layered with something that wasn't quite Arya's voice and wasn't quite anyone's. Hello, Mom. It's been a while. Denise stumbled backward, and Arya stood frozen as the reflection in the mirror stopped matching either of their movements entirely. Arya doesn't remember me, because I've never once let her keep the memory. Every time I needed her body, I gave it back to her empty afterward. That's the deal I made with what's left of me. She gets to live her life. I just borrow it when it matters. What do you mean, borrow it? What did you do to my father? The same thing he did to me, except I finished it in one night instead of dragging it out for 7 days in a trash bag behind a house. The voice was calm in a way that was worse than anger. I didn't come back for revenge on him alone, Arya. I came back because I watched what he did to you and Mom for years afterward through that glass. And no one else was ever going to stop it. Watched us? How long have you? Since the night he put me down and walked away. That mirror was the last thing I ever saw. It's been the only thing I've had since. Pause, almost gentle. I'm not angry with you, Arya. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just the only one of us who got to keep living, so I made sure that living was worth something. You can't have her. Denise's voice cracked but held. Whatever you are now, whatever's left of you. You can't take my daughter to finish something I should have stopped a long time ago. I don't want to take her, Mom. I want you to finally tell the truth without me having to drag it out of both of you one handprint at a time. The reflection's eyes, Arya's own eyes staring back distorted, didn't blink. For 3 years, Arya carried the blame for something I did, because you were too afraid to say my name out loud even to protect her. That ends tonight. Either you tell her everything in full right now, or I keep coming back through this glass every time either of you tries to bury it again. Denise sank against the wall, and for the first time in 3 years, she spoke without softening a single detail. The fertility clinic, the 6 days, the 7th night, the trash bag, the threat that kept her silent for over a decade afterward. By the time she finished, the handprint on the mirror had gone still. Thank you. The voice was quieter now, almost tired. That's all I ever wanted. Not the two of you scared of me. Just the truth, finally said out loud, instead of buried with a new address every few years. The reflection in the glass shifted one final time. For a single moment, unmistakably a second girl, Arya's exact mirror image, mouthing something neither of them could hear before the glass cleared completely, ordinary and empty. for the first time either of them could remember. Arya's case was never formally reopened. There was no forensic path that could explain what actually happened that night, and no version of the truth she could safely give a courtroom. But her mother filed a full statement with a private investigator that same week, enough to finally clear the informal suspicion that had followed Arya out of every room she'd entered since her release. She kept one mirror in the new house, small in the hallway, the same one, not out of fear but because some nights, standing in front of it, she swears she can still feel like she isn't entirely alone in her own reflection. Not threatening, just present, watching over the way an older sister might, given the 6 days they'd actually had together and everything since. If someone had been watching your entire life through a piece of glass, waiting for the one person who'd finally believe them, would you want to know? Or would you rather it stayed buried, the way everyone around Arya tried to keep it? That's the story of the girl who came back wrong, except she was never the one who was wrong at all. If you want more stories like this, let us know in the comments and subscribe for the next one.